All right, who's joining us? Let's see. I see Nura, you wrote something fil Arabi. I'm sorry, I don't know how to read it. Mira, we'll get to you in a second.
Yes, give me a
Let's
second.
see. Oh, thank you, Crystal. Love you. Okay. All right, we're almost. This is a big topic for me, and I'll self-disclose. This I'm going to also um I'm going to also put a trigger warning or a disclaimer that today's live we're going to talk about whenever we talk about narcissism, uh, this you're going to talk about themes of abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, and so yes, this is a very heavy topic. So if anybody is triggered by this, please take time for it yourself. Mira, I'll be right back. Can you get everything set up? I'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, Ibrahim. Thank you for joining us. Tiffany will be back in a little bit.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Where's everyone coming in from? So I'm coming to you live from Los Angeles, California. Mira,
And I'm joining you from Egypt.
love that. Let's see. Where's everyone coming in from? I can't see. Can you take a look at the comments, Mira,
Yes, of course.
as people are hopping on?
Wait, Alex.
Oh, Alex, Kuwait. Oh my gosh, what is happening to Kuwait? So many
California.
things. Oh, we got Noor in
Wait.
New York. New York's in the house. Love New York. Funny story. Most people think I'm from New York. I said that's because I speak fast, direct.
Yeah.
Not your typical Californian. Chicago, Quincy. I love that. Chicago's in the house. Let's give people a couple more minutes. Mina, do you have any announcements or yellow news?
Yes, I have some yellow news. So before I begin, my name is Mira. I'm Tiffany's assistant. Always having the pleasure to join you on Wadeh Wednesdays. I'd like to let you know that the website is now it's the link for the website is now available in the link tree in bio on Instagram and TikTok. There are exciting things coming up. So we have a support group. It's going to begin on the 2nd of January. And we would love for you to be a part of it. It's a big thing. Tiffany is pioneering it. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of it. And you can now find all the details for the support group on the website. And if you'd like any help with anything, if you have any questions, always feel free to DM us and I will be answering you as soon as I can. Also, we have workshops. You can find a lot of workshops. They're happening every month of 2026. It's very, very exciting. So make sure you go check those out as well. And you can always, again, send us a DM, ask about anything you'd like to know, and we would be more than happy to help you.
If I can ask, we have so many requests for individual therapy. I am almost fully booked. That's why we have the support group, we have the workshops. It is so important that we come together. And I know that stigma is still really high. People really want to do the individual work. But if I can say a support group that we did this past year was absolutely incredible. People from different parts of the world, the United States, everybody coming together, sharing a common thread and a common story. And that was absolutely amazing. So I will encourage all of you to check out the website and join us. It's going to be really awesome. Basically, the support group is we're going to talk about who are we, what is our light in respect to this larger cultural context. And we share stories and we help one another overcome some pretty intense situations in our lives. Speaking of intense situations, let's talk about narcissistic parents in Middle Eastern cultural contexts. So, as I say every live, take a look at yourself, the people who raised you, your parents, or anyone who may have raised you. I must say this very clearly. It is not to say they are not good people. Okay. Some may not be. Um, One of the hardest things in working within our cultural context is getting individuals to gently talk about their parents and speaking to some of the realities that they have experienced. And they feel this deep sense of shame, even talking about their parents. We are not here to blame the culture at all. We are going to talk, it is about understanding the dynamics. I need to emphasize that to people. That understanding narcissistic family dynamics in Middle Eastern communities requires us looking at how individual personality traits, so your mom, your dad, sibling, but in here we're talking about parents, where their individual personality traits will intersect with cultural norms and intergenerational trauma and tightly bound family structures. So we're going to look at the individual traits. Now, narcissistic behaviors often blend with culturally reinforced expectations. That's why when I was preparing for this live, it made it so hard to identify. I was like, well, what's what? It's almost like every Arab parent I know will fall under narcissistic parents. And it's even harder when you start to recognize it to challenge it. Now, full disclosure, I'm a marriage and family therapist. I've been in practice for over 20 years. I came into practice to heal my own wounds of having a father who will fall under the category of a narcissist. Now, if you look at diagnostically, he will hit every criteria. Now, with that said, from a young age, when I was 10 years old, one of the core memories I have of recognizing this dynamic was my father was very grandiose. He talked about his Masadi and his what he was able to accomplish, and we were nothing without him, and all these things. And when I was 10, he goes, look at all these things I'm doing for you. Look at all of this. And when I say it like that, I'm not exaggerating. He would say, oh, Hayuna. Now, full disclosure, another full disclosure, Abuya Wafa, he died 2 weeks ago. And I knew I wasn't able to do this live until after he was gone. And I would say to Mira, we're going to do narcissism because you guys have been asking for it for a year and a half. And I would not be able to do it until after he's gone. So with that said, growing up, I'm 10 years old. He had always made us remind us of how everything he did was so great and everything he did was for us. One day I said to him, I said, you know what, Dad, you're not doing this for us. You're doing this for you. and he went into what we will call a narcissistic rage, and he slapped me. Now, at 10, that was the moment I hated him, because I called out a truth. Now I'm 10, I'm young. I didn't really know how true it was. And when he punished me for it, that was the moment I hated him, 10 years old. And I'm 54 now. He died 2 weeks ago. I could say that if you do hate your father or your mother, it's okay. I know that that is an intense emotion. It's profoundly uncomfortable. I also know the emotional toll it takes on you when you harbor such feelings. So it was from that age of 10 where I was on this quest to understand who he was and why I was confused most of my life, being gaslit, which I'll talk about later, around my experiences with him, and then the greater impact on the family. Now, with that said, in Middle Eastern families, there's loyalty, respect, family honor. These are the things that matter so deeply to us. And so it becomes very complicated when you have a parent with a personality structure that causes emotional harm. Now, this gets further complicated because I understood my father's history and his immigration experiences and the challenges that he faced coming to the United States من Palestine. And that also can take a toll on you because you know what their history is, and it keeps you engaged because you're saying, haram, my gosh, look at everything they went through, look at everything they sacrificed for us, all of these things they've done to provide. And yet, on the other side of that coin, you're experiencing intense emotional harm. Sometimes with narcissism, the harm is so subtle. It's like little chips. It's like somebody has a chisel and they're chipping at you. Sometimes it's not the outward abuse or it's the subtlety in which they permeate within you. That's what makes narcissistic abuse so dangerous if you are not aware of yourself. All right. So let's talk about why narcissistic traits often blend into cultural norms. And please chime in. So, as we know, as a culture, we emphasize hierarchical family structures. So, parents are above all. So, and maybe this is shifted with the generation, but I could speak to my generation. Parents are top. Children owe obedience no matter what. Okay. Parents, children. Okay. We have this collectivism in our culture where individual needs are not even considered. Then, of course, we have honor, our image, our reputation are central to our family values. Now, when you're dealing with narcissistic traits, that image, that's why me being on this live, oh my gosh, my dad would say, Inti, tehkish on the dead. And the fact that I'm talking about him, heck, right? But I'm not talking, he said, don't talk ill. I'm not talking ill. I'm talking truth. Because this honor and this image and this reputation, this masks that the Arab community, we love to wear our masks. Everything is perfect. That I'm blowing the lid off that on this live, because there's somebody out there that needs this message, that needs this understanding, because this type of parenting can bring you so down and so low that you will have a lifetime of suffering. We also have in our culture these gendered expectations, right? So there's pressure on daughters, eldest sons, these expectations of everyone's role and who needs to do what. And then, of course, and this is a beautiful thing of our culture, is the interdependence, where we all come together, yet we don't necessarily focus on independence. And if you are even remotely trying to become independent, even though you want to be interdependent, it may be seen as disobedient. Now, these norms are beautiful in and of themselves. You know, there's so many strengths in these structures, collectivism, honor, yet it's fertile ground for narcissistic traits to camouflage. Okay. So respecting your parents. Now I'm going to talk some heavy things. So are you going to respect somebody that physically and sexually abuses you? Is that what we're saying? That's where the narcissistic traits are coming from. Yes, respecting your parents is a beautiful thing, but do we respect the elders that harm us? Is that what we're asked to do? Keeping the family name clean. So with that said, interestingly enough, maybe there are dark secrets in this family that you are the holder of and that you can't speak to. And maybe you are you have been harmed significantly as a result of this keeping the family name clean. Is that what we're required to do? You sacrifice for your parents. Well, does this sacrifice in a narcissistic family system require you to leave your own children or leave your partner? So you sacrifice everything for your parents, but at what cost to your own family? And I hear stories like this time and time again. What's the infamous, don't make us look bad? Yet there's no self-reflection in how they're moving in this dynamic. The other one, this was a big one my father would always say, be grateful. We gave you everything. You are nothing without me. You are nothing without my money. Be grateful. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be you. Okay, well, part of it is true. The other part is this idea that your children, right, that you have to go over the top for any little thing they gave you. You have to give it back tenfold. And this can lead to intense feelings of never feeling good enough. Now, because there's so much overlap, we want to respect our parents. We want to move in a world where we want to honor our family. We want to be able to give to our parents and take care of them and love them and uplift them. And obviously, nobody wants to make anybody feel bad. or look bad. But that could be anything in our culture. And of course, gratitude is important, but you could see where this overlap for those of you that are survivors of narcissistic abuse, or if you suspect that that you are in this dynamic, that you will see yourself as disrespectful rather than recognizing the emotional abuse. And that was me most of my life. I'm the disrespectful one, the angry one, the one that was constantly fighting, shaming the family, putting everybody down, putting myself down too. And it wasn't until later in life, when I got into therapy at 20 years old, that the therapist helped me to recognize the narcissistic abuse, the emotional abuse. And for me, up until that point, it was normal, absolutely normal. So, wait, what? Narcissistic abuse? What are you talking about? And it was at that point my healing began. And at what point are you going to allow your healing to begin? In recognizing that some of our cultural traits exhibit emotional abuse. All right, let's stop there. Any questions? Mira, do we have any questions or anything that's coming up?
We have questions, but not related to the topic. People are asking about the individual therapy and overthinking, so other things.
We'll answer those at the end if we have time.
Yeah.
So if you suspect it, you are in one. Let's see. I think it's LAK. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because narcissism now, like trauma, everybody throws out this clinical term without really understanding what it is. Everybody's a narcissist. Everybody is the, and I don't want us blanking. If you suspect that you are in this narcissistic dynamic, I'm really going to encourage you to seek clinical help, to get more guidance than TikTok or ChatGPT, or whatever we're doing nowadays, to which is fine. I think they have its place. But this is, if you suspect it, you're going to really want to work with a professional that's going to help you navigate it, because it's not that easy. And it's extremely complicated, especially within our cultural context. Now, how would narcissism in a mother present? The same. So I'm using my father as an example, yet the traits will present similarly with a mother. All right. So common characteristics of common narcissistic parent behaviors in our Middle Eastern families. So I talked about image and reputation obsession, almost obsessed with using their children as reflections of parental success. So if you are a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, you guys are the winners. The rest of us, not as successful. Even the ones with businesses, right? So they usually equate the more material success you have, the more successful the parent is. So if that's not your value, if that's not important to you, you may be seen as less successful, which I'm here to say is not true. Parents also have this hyper focus on education, marriage. Oh, kululati mitjawzin shufu. Not just mitjawzin, they're married to Arab from the, they hit all the the markings of what the culture expects. And there's this hyper focus on that. Punishing anything that embarrasses the family, and that could be you just wearing a certain thing, could be embarrassing to the family. Prioritizing how things look over how things feel. And so they may not care, narcissistic parental behavior, they don't care how you feel. They have zero empathy for how you feel. That's the difference. Sometimes the Arab parent will say, I know, Habibti, I know this is hard, but this is what we need to do. That's not narcissism. Narcissistic parent is the one that says, I don't care how you feel. You're going to do this because my image is more important than your peace. Another big one that I hear a lot in my work, personally and professionally, is emotional manipulation framed as cultural obligation. So what does that mean? Guilt tripping. How many of you maybe put a little, how many of you were guilt tripping using religious language? Well, we would hear, God will not be happy with you if you don't obey, or if you don't do this. You will be, anybody else have any phrases? You owe me my place in heaven. Yeah, thank you, Dee Dee. Yeah, you owe me high ranking. Oh, Quincy, you said Kafir, been called that. Oh yeah, I was called that my whole life. So let's keep going. So you could see where it gets complicated in our cultural context, because not only are we, there's societal guilt, there's cultural guilt. Now you're going to add the layer of religious guilt. Okay. Which is a tough one, which I already talked about religious trauma a couple of weeks ago. There's emotional blackmail. So you'll hear things like, after everything we've done for you, this is how you treat us. And it could be you just not wanting to go somewhere. And you're not doing what we want. Expecting caretaking of parents, regardless of capacity. So I know, oh, is the mic off?
No, it's not.
No,
It's
somebody said the mic was off.
Maybe they have a problem with the audio. Maybe you can leave the live and then come back. You can hear us.
Okay. So where was I?
We have an Arabic comment. Can I please read it? Because it says طاعة الوالدين من طاعة الرب وغيره. They said that their parents would tell them, when you do what I want, you're doing what God wants, or like God would be happy with you if you did what I want. If you obey us, God would like you more.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you for, can you say that again, Fil Arabi? It's so interesting.
طاعة الوالدين من طاعة الرب وغيره.
Yep. So you can see that this is in our common everyday interactions. And how does that impact you? Excuse me. Expecting caretaking of parents regardless of capacity. So when my father was he was declining, they never said, come. But of course, the expectation is you drop everything and you go. And min ayuni ala rasi, I was happy to go and help and do what I could. And even if that meant leaving my daughter and to take care of herself. And at some point, it became too much. At some point, that capacity that I was able to do, I had to say, khalas, enough. I can't do this. And so you have to remember for you to assess for yourself your own threshold for that, right? Your own threshold in what your capacity is. Most people within our cultural context go beyond what their capacity is. We have a very high frustration tolerance. And so that um, that will push us past our capacity, which leads to burnout, illness, frustration, all kinds of physical ailments. Um, any type of labeling as independence, it's rebellion or disrespect, or you have what they say. What else do they say? You're from the West, you're being westernized. That's a big one. That's why on this platform, we don't do this East versus West thing, because um, it's about how do you want to live your life. That's not a West or an East thing. That's a you thing. Threatening social consequences. Excuse me. I'll tell your uncles. I will shame you, condemn, and nas. People will know. That is horribly shaming. But a narcissistic parent will threaten that. So to shame you into submission. Now, one of the things, and I was conflicted about this next part because, excuse me, enmeshment. I mean, part of our being a part of a collective culture. I would tell Western therapists, try not to pathologize Arab for our enmeshment. And enmeshment is where everyone's feeling the same thing, and you don't know where you begin and where the family ends, and that's part of our collectivism. That's part of the beauty of our culture. But where it becomes problematic is when it's disguised as love. So there's no boundaries around privacy, autonomy, decisions. Oh, but we're doing all this for you because we love you. When if they truly loved you, they would allow you some freedom to make your own choices. Parents see their children as an extension of themselves. I see this a lot, where the children have to fulfill and feed. But you love me, and you have to be everything for me. And that is profoundly disorienting when you have a narcissistic parent. The other piece is threatening social, no, and the other piece to the enmeshment disguised as love is they will intrude on your marriage. Your parenting, your finances, your career, that they will insert themselves. I see a lot of comedic skits on that, where the mother-in-law or the father-in-law, they will control every aspect of the marriage, even the parenting of the children. Some will even have access to the married couple's finances, right? And then, of course, what they do in their career, what they do in their business. But we're doing this because we love you. But really, and I think somebody already wrote that, it's very controlling. Oh, okay. All right. Let's take some questions before I move on. There's two more that I'll talk about.
Okay, someone said, does a narcissist ever get better? I feel that a parent fits, my parent fits that criteria, but has backed down over the last few years.
Does a narcissist ever get better? I feel that a parent fits the. Well, it's interesting. I cannot answer that succinctly, because have they backed down because you've learned how to adapt? Have they backed down because you're not engaging in the dynamic, because you've learned not to kick the hornet's nest? A narcissist, the prognosis for someone with true narcissistic personality disorder, the outcomes are extremely poor. So I can tell you from my own experience that any mellowing out, or I can't say better, but any mellowing out was because I learned the skills to not evoke the narcissistic rage or any of those dynamics. I became hyper independent. I ensured that uh, it, it was the most surface relationship, because any moment I went to a vulnerability or got a little deep, you'll see that narcissism come out real quick. So for you, NJWN0101, I'll tell you, uh, in my experience, no, a true narcissist does not get better. My sense is you have just gotten better at dealing with it.
Okay, Quincy says, was my mom a narcissist because maybe her mom was a narcissist?
That's right. We'll talk about this generational passing down of narcissistic parenting. So your mother may have wounds that, because of the narcissistic parenting, she adopted more of those wounds and then passed it to the next generation. Now, was your mom a true narcissist? I don't know. My sense is I don't know. But my sense is, for a lot of women in our culture, unhealed trauma leads to personality disordered traits. That is why on this platform, it's so important that I let everybody heal your wounds early, get started on them, because they tend to morph into more diagnostically personality disorders, which is what I think, Quincy, you're speaking to, is these unhealed trauma and where it can lead to, which we never talk about. It's like, how can we address generational trauma without addressing the harm that's been done as a result of not healing our wounds? All right.
We also have R8 asking, can you
Sorry.
oh,
Sorry. I'm just gonna. This is my dog. She's very
okay.
annoying right now. Okay, go ahead.
It's okay. So the comment said, can you talk about the line between criticism / hitting and emotional / physical abuse?
I'm not understanding. Can you repeat the question? I'm not understanding that.
Can you talk about the line between criticism and emotional abuse? That's easier.
Criticism, it is emotional abuse. There is no line. It is what it is, emotional abuse. Okay. Hitting is physical abuse. I don't mince that as a clinician. If you're being hit, that's physical abuse. If someone is criticizing you and shaming you and causing emotional harm, that's emotional abuse. There is no line. For me as a clinician, that's what it is. All right, let's keep going. So we were talking earlier about the common narcissistic parental behaviors. And so we kind of started with image and reputation, emotional manipulation, enmeshment disguised as love. Now it's conditional love based on performance. So how many of you, you were good children if you complied and obeyed? If affection was withdrawn when you asserted yourself individually, your individuality. Okay. So one of the things that's important for you to remember is this conditional love based on performance never ends, because they can constantly move this goalpost. Okay. And whenever a parent withdraws affection because you're asserting your personality, well, that's something for you to pay attention to. Constant comparison to siblings or cousins. That's something we do. It's a very common practice. Yet if they're doing it to cause emotional harm after you've shared with them, please don't do that, and they still do that, right? That's an issue. Okay. Do you see what happens when you're doing a live? She's having a little bit of a panic attack. Do you see that? She's shaking. I know. But you're disturbing this very important topic. Okay. Here, I'm going to try and see if she'll go down. Okay. The next one is a big one. Who is shaking? My dog is shaking. She's having a panic attack. Oh my God. Remind me not to read the comments, Mita, please. Okay. The next one is rage and control. So this is where they use anger as dominance. Shaming, name calling. They will triangulate family members. So narcissistic parents will typically pin one child against another. They'll start talking badly, and then you get roped in, or they'll say, go talk to your dad, right? Go talk to your father. And then they rope you into their parental dynamic. It is not a good dynamic. Another thing that we see is control is labeled as protection. Now, many of you have DM'd me story after story, time after time, that you can't make decisions, that even as simple as going outside or doing certain things, they control it under this idea that you're protected. Now, in a narcissistic dynamic, you have to be really careful about, because you get seduced into, they're just protecting me. More often than not in that dynamic, they're not. They're controlling you. Constant monitoring. They'll say, well, it's I care about you. I worry about you. Again, same thing. Be really careful around this protection and care. Boundary violations. So going into your room, not respecting your relationships can be seen as, well, we're just a close family. Okay. So now that you kind of understand some of the dynamics, let's talk about how do Middle Eastern adult children internalize this dynamic. Now, one of the videos that went micro-viral was chronic self-doubt. So not knowing where cultural obligation ends and emotional abuse begins. So you may experience this chronic self-doubt. We even have a freebie, don't we have a freebie that they can download on self-doubt? That you will constantly question what you're doing, who you are, and that can lead to emotional numbing, where you're just going through the motions. You're not even feeling anything anymore. You're not even intentional with what you're doing. You just do it rotely. Or you move into hypervigilance, where you're constantly scanning. Am I doing the right thing? Is this okay? Do I look okay? Am I pleasing this person? And you are in this running, the sympathetic of the autonomic nervous system, and you're highly anxious, which will lead to people pleasing. You may avoid conflict. You may have difficulty with independence. You have this intense fear of community judgment, and you will constantly doubt what you're doing because of this backlash you're terrified to receive. And that is exacerbated by the narcissistic parent. The next thing we see that you may internalize it is parentification. Now, what does that mean? It's where children, you are the emotional caregiver for your family. So your mom may lean on you for emotional support. Your father may lean on you for emotional support. Age inappropriate. You may become the caregiver for these individuals, where when you're a child, the child is meant to be cared for and nurtured. But if you're placed in doing adult responsibilities, that can lead to you taking an over responsibility for everyone and everything in your life or at your job. You may take on more responsibilities. You also may be the mediator in your family between the parents, which is inappropriate. They need to figure it out themselves. It's not your job. And also, you may be the protector of your younger siblings, and that can take on a high sense of responsibility. Your pressure to care for your parents at the cost of yourself. So many times their choices in life will have significant implications on you. So for any parent out there, I said, can you do your children a favor and take care of yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually, so that you won't have to pressure them to care for you at the cost of themselves, that they will just want to take care of you, but you won't demand that they do that at the cost of themselves or their own children. For those of you that feel like a bad child because you want boundaries, and those boundaries can be very, very small, don't feel bad. You are not a bad child for wanting some space, wanting some freedom. There's nothing wrong with you. But a narcissistic parenting will instill that in you, that now you're an adult, you're walking around, you're constantly feeling bad for everything. And I say this when I say you feel bad for breathing, because your existence now, I am bad. Because anything I do for myself is a problem, which we know logically it's not. It's just conditioned by these dynamics. You may have this hypervigilance around conflict. So I see this a lot, even in this social media platform. Oh my gosh, either this anger or this explosive reactions to, if you just listen to the video, it doesn't warrant all of that. And so we're quick to flare, or there's this any kind of wrong word usage. I have seen in the comments people lose their minds. And so this is where you weren't taught the skills, and that may be a modeling that you receive from your father or your mother, that any little thing you may have done had this explosive reaction or an unpredictable reaction. And sometimes you may publicly humiliating as a person that's out in the public. There's this need to publicly shame or humiliate. Now, your family may do that to the aunties or the uncles or at the family party. And so if you have become this way, know that that could be modeling that you received. And you may internalize that, where you're angry. You're angry for any little thing that happens. This is another big one called loyalty guilt, where you feel responsible for your parents' happiness, even in adulthood. Now, how many of you, if you wanted to put in the comments, how many of you feel responsible for your parents' happiness? I know I did. I spent my whole life wanting my parents to be happy, trying to do everything in my power to make sure that they're happy. And yet, can you impact somebody else's happiness? I'm asking a question. Can you be responsible for somebody else's happiness? Mira, any thoughts?
We have people answering. They said yes. They said you can be responsible for somebody else's happiness, which I don't think is true.
It's not true, Dina. Nadine, no, you can't. Fortuna, no, you can't. That's right.
Mm.
Edie, I think you also said no. The comment went too fast. No, you cannot be responsible for somebody else's happiness ever. That is their responsibility. Now, if you had this in your family of origin with your mom and dad, and you were trying to, that when you start to get a partner, you will bend over backwards for this person to be happy. And that may draw you to what I call energy vampires. Your picker, you may pick the very people that are going to harm you and abuse you. And you may be that draw of a narcissistic personality person because you want to have that corrective emotional experience by saying, I could be responsible. I couldn't be responsible for my parents' happiness. I could be responsible for his happiness or her happiness. And then that cycle just keeps going until you decide that you are not responsible for anyone's happiness. Each person is responsible for their own happiness. Okay. And so this is where you're the good daughter, the good son, the good wife, the good husband, the good partner. And it leads to over functioning, which is so common in our culture, doing way too much for everyone. And this over functioning leads to high rates of burnout. Caretaking. So not only are you caretaking your family, you're caretaking the neighbors, your friends, you're caretaking everyone else but you. And then you wonder why you're anxious or depressed. And from that good daughter son trap, you may lack personal life decisions because your whole life, your whole existence is for other people. So then your own choices that you want to make for you get skewed. Now, my parents were aging. I'll give an example of this. A good daughter stays near her aging parents. Now, when my daughter wanted to move to Los Angeles to pursue her career, I had to make a choice. Do I negate her path to stay in this with my parents, or do I take this step to honor her path? Obviously, I live in Los Angeles. I took the step to honor her path, and I have no regrets. Was it a difficult decision? In many ways, yes. Was there some guilt? Absolutely. So moving out of this good daughter persona and getting out of that game, I was able to not only honor my daughter and her path, but I was also able to honor myself. And taking that personal life decision was not easy, but then we also move away from taking accountability and responsibility for our life because of this dynamic. Now, the next and the last one, and then we'll end, and then we'll do a part 2, identity suppression. So you may want to pursue a career in the arts, yet you're forced to pursue a career in medicine. You may want to have a relationship outside of culture, religion, doesn't matter. Your religious practices, maybe you don't want to adhere to, and this is Christianity, Islam, through whatever religion you are, you may not want to ascribe to those religious practices. And so you suppress your identity in that, your clothing, your social choices, everything is shaped by these parental demands. And if they're a narcissist, or if they move towards this emotional harm, a lot of the things that you're going to be left with is living your life for them. And you're going to suppress your identity. And the more you suppress, the more you repress, the more what you resist persists. And so you may have difficulty trusting relationships as a result of that. as one of the consequences. So there's so much, but let's talk about, I want us to end on a positive note because this was a lot of heavy things that we discussed. And healing begins with you redefining what respect is. Healing begins with redefining what respect is, permission to have your needs, differentiating. If I'm not emotionally safe with this parent, how do I keep myself safe? And keeping yourself safe means staying in surface. You do not engage. Dr. Ramani, Ramani, she is probably one of the top experts on narcissistic familial abuse. I would definitely check her work out. I would also check out the work of Jerry Wise, Jerry, last name Wise. Now, I know they don't come from our cultures, but the work that they do on narcissistic abuse in families is it was life-changing for me and very healing for me as I was doing this work. And one of the biggest things you need to perhaps explore for yourself is reparenting yourself. A lot of the work that I do is developing that building that internal safety for my clients. You mean an emotional attunement with themselves. Me being that mirror to them around that. And that their self-worth is not tied to performance or even belonging, and helping them create autonomy in their decision making and exploring what's important to you. And then, of course, giving them the strength to make those decisions for themselves, irrespective of the pushback. And then, of course, developing safety plans and all these things. Now, what healing does not mean is you don't need to cut off your parents. I did not need to cut these. I mean, I've cut them off many times throughout my life, but you don't necessarily need to cut them off. Although for some of you, absolutely, you need to cut them off. But that's working with a therapist to help you with that. Okay, so the live is almost done. I have so much more to talk about. Hold on, it's asking me to do some things. Gosh, it's, I love technology and then I don't. Okay, give me 1 second. All right. So some support options, therapy with a culturally attuned clinician, the support group that we have, feel free to look at it on the website. Psychoeducation resources, which I gave you 2 very good ones, Dr. Ramani and Jerry Wise. It's about understanding your body and the somatic responses that you have in you. And we could talk more about that later. So with that said, I wanted to say thank you for joining this live. Thank you for sharing your energy with me. Everyone that contributed, know that this topic is very heavy, and we'll do part 2 next Wednesday on Wadih Wednesday to explore more around how these cultural norms and the differences in these narcissistic patterns. But take this week and just notice, is this culture or is this narcissism? And you will differentiate it by if it's causing emotional harm. More often than not, it's narcissism, but it's giving your family an opportunity to say, Mama, that hurt me when you said that. And if the response is defensive, more tripling down, or hey, Baba, can we? And there was no empathy, then that's narcissism. But if they say, I'm sorry, I did that, maybe they didn't say the right words, but if they say, I'm sorry, I did that, I will try better next time, and they'll probably do it another 500 times. That's not narcissism. They're just learning the skills. They're figuring it out with you, and give them that opportunity to be vulnerable with them. But if it's narcissism, do not be vulnerable at all. If there's no empathy, abort mission. And we'll talk more about that.
Thank you so much. May I please remind them, for anyone that has been asking about everything that has to do with the workshops or the support group or the individual therapy, everything is on the website. Link is in bio on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. And if you're asking about the full video, it's going to be up on Friday. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. So please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can always get notified that we posted the full video there. And for anyone that had questions that are not related to the topic, please make sure to follow us on Instagram, and we can make a story for a Q&A and you can answer the questions, right?
Oh yeah, Mira, you're so good at that.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Mira. Thank you, Habibti. You're the best. I appreciate everything you do for Community for International Arab, everything you do for me. You're amazing. Thank you to everybody that's been supporting this content from the very beginning. We appreciate all the support. And remember our tagline here at Community for International Arab, Nawar Titnawar, that the light in me sees the light in you, and let us carry that light wherever we are wherever you are in the world, and let us be the light we want to see and create change to uplift our communities to healing and growth. Enjoy your path, everybody. See you next Wednesday.
Oh, Tiff, you got a lot